Hello and welcome to the ultimate Critical Strike Fairy class guide. I really hope you all enjoy that intro because it took a lot of time to make, but the end product looks pretty good to me. Anyways, today I am going to be teaching you everything that you need to know about the Fairy class to become a super pro gamer. So, in this video, we'll start by simply going over Fairy's basic stats and moveset. After that, we'll talk all about combos and actually using the Fairy, and after that, we'll conclude with a summary of the Fairy class. So let's start by taking a look at the Fairy stats. The Fairy has 70 HP, a top speed of 35, a fairly low max damage at just 44, and it's a support class. Fairy's playstyles include ranged, control, laser, and defensive. With that little bit of information out of the way, let's take a look at each of Fairy's moves. Starting with the LMB, it's called Fairy Dust and it casts out a fast, short-range projectile that deals damage and heals teammates. When I first started using Fairy, I kept missing a lot of my attacks with this LMB, and that actually comes down to the way it's fired from the Fairy itself. Similar to really any projectile in the game, you have to do a little bit of prediction in order to land your LMB. And, trust me, you'll want to be landing a whole lot of LMBs, since Fairy doesn't do a ton of damage immediately. Speaking of not doing a ton of damage immediately, let's take a look at the Fairy's Q move, which is called Glitter Bomb. This move is basically a shotgun that shoots out two different projectiles or bombs that do two different amounts of damage. The first bombs do 8 damage, and the second bombs do 6 damage. This is Fairy's longest range move, so use it wisely. If you need to chip away at someone's health as they're running away, or you're just trying to instigate a battle, this move will also definitely help with that. And this move heals allies/teammates. On the topic of healing, here's the Fairy's E move called Divine Light. It shoots out a laser that deals damage to all enemies hit and lifesteals 10 health. By the way, the lifesteal is affected by an enemy's defense, so if they have a defense buff of 5, then you only lifesteal 5 health. This move actually is really good, but it's a bit difficult to aim since there's no delay to help assist you. However, because Divine Light is a laser, it doesn't really require any prediction to aim, unlike the LMB and Q moves. And now let's move on to the Fairy's ultimate/F move,
Baby Fairy! After activating this move, you morph into a baby fairy that is immune to attacks.
You also gain increased movement speed and jump height, but for the duration of Baby Fairy, you cannot use any moves. Now, speaking of moves, this move is actually overpowered. Not only can you entirely counter things such as Reaper's Deathmark, but you can immediately stop all damage being done to you, so this ability makes an excellent combo breaker. And now we're ready to go on to the second part of this Fairy guide, combos and class usage. So let's start with a few combos. Q plus E plus LMB plus LMB will do a total of 38 damage if you can hit every shot on your opponent. This means that, along with pretty quick cooldowns, the Fairy actually has a pretty high amount of DPS, or damage per second. Of course, the ultimate damage combo, as I like to call it, is not the only combo that you can perform with the Fairy class. There's also the all-in combo, as I like to call it, which is performed by doing Q, E, F, and LMB. This is basically the first combo, but the F has been thrown in for a convenient time to help you refresh some of your cooldowns. Also, the second LMB attached to the end isn't really necessary, but if you can make one in, you'll get an extra 10 damage, and everyone needs a little bit of that in their lives. The next, and definitely the easiest combo, is LMB and Q. This is a really simple, good damage combo that's going to do 16 or 18 damage depending on how far away your opponent is. Strike them with an LMB, sprinkle in a bit of damage with Q, and you've got a decent little combo. Of course, these aren't all the moveset combos available to a Fairy user in Critical Strike, but they are the ones I think will come in handy the most often. And now that we've discussed several of Fairy's combos, let's talk about using the Fairy. I want to begin this segment by saying, Please don't spam all of Fairy's moves. It is a very reactive class, which means that the majority of the time, you'll actually be focused on responding to your opponent's attacks, whether that's by going invincible with F or lifestealing with E. Maybe your opponent drops out of range of most of your moves, use the Q to damage them from afar. But now, here's some pro gamer super mega ultra doo-doo tips, starting with number 1. Try not to let your opponent get the upper hand with terrain. Fairy actually has an incredibly difficult time fighting on different terrain levels, so make sure to keep the fight on flat ground. Tip number 2. Balance between rushing your opponents and keeping your distance. Remember that while Fairy does have a decent range attack, all of its other abilities have very short, almost melee range. This means that finding a good balance between a rushing playstyle and a distance playstyle is of the utmost importance. Tip number 3. Aim where your opponent will be, not where they are. The majority of Fairy's attacks, excluding the Divine Light, are technically projectiles, which means that your attacks travel through the air before landing on your opponent and dealing damage. To counter this, aim where your opponent will be, not where they are. A top tip that my friend Lucrativic told me was to actually wait for your opponent to do something predictable, such as jumping in the air, or wait for them to strafe to the right or left side. This allows you to be much more effective and efficient when it comes to actually landing your projectiles. And, pro tip number 4, don't waste your lifesteal, because it might have a fairly low cooldown, but that does not mean that you should be wasteful with it. Instead of spamming, wait until your opponent is in a spot where you're sure you won't miss, and fire. Hopefully, your aim is true, and you get that extra 10 health. But now, we have finally discussed everything that you need to know to become a big pro Fairy user. But before we do end, let's quickly summarize the Fairy class. Overall, it's quite good. I wouldn't say that it's the best class in the game or anything, but it is definitely a class that you should check out. But, as with any class though, you should still practice a lot, and as often as you can. This will help you hone your skills and keep them sharp. Shout out to Lucrativic and Younga Boy for helping with this video. Have a fantastic day. Bye bye.